Hey everybody, welcome back to the Shea Station podcast. It is episode 88. It is Monday, August 8th, and it is the good news. The Mets have taken 4 out of 5 from their division rival, the Atlanta Braves, at home. It was an absolutely electric weekend. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jolly Olive, aka Jack. Joining me is Jerry Blevins, as always. I'm going to give it my all, energy-wise, but I'm pretty gassed from a fun weekend at the warehouse. You guys are going to find out what we were doing soon. Jerry, how was your weekend?
My weekend was not as fun as yours, but on a baseball front, it was great, man. 5-game series, a big one. You know, before we went in, I was like, look, it's not everything, and it's still not everything. Like, the Braves are still the same team that we thought they were. We've made a couple of statements against them, but it's still not out of reach. But the Mets threw some haymakers there, proved to be, you know, at the time, I don't want to say the better team, but they stepped up to the plate and showed who they were. They showed their colors, man. They beat them up.
I like that you're able to stay based and grounded after such an electrifying weekend, because felt like everything to me. Felt like the grandiose statement we've been waiting for.
It was a statement. I'll give you that. For sure, it was a statement.
But yeah, the Mets take 4 or 5. The offense was really alive in pretty much all of these games. We got 2 of maybe the best pitching performances of the entire season from Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom in the final 2 games. We are going to dive into all of that, and there are no ads. So you want to go right in, Jerry, with game 1?
Let's do it.
Let's freaking do it, man. I got game 1. I got 3 wins to talk about today. What a world
Shocker.
we live in. Hell yeah. All right, game 1. The Mets walk into Citi Field against the Braves. Carlos Carrasco is on the mound, and they get started early. Starling Marte and Francisco Lindor. We're going to talk a lot about Lindor. They get on base to set up an RBI base hit for Pete Alonso, so they go ahead. Vogie's double play ends that rally early, but it's 1-0 Metsies. Tyler Naquin, one of our 3 big bats acquired at the deadline, makes a statement in his first at-bat at Citi Field. A solo home run he crushes to right center field. Mets go up 2-0, and they keep adding on later on in the third. Pete Alonso and Dan Vogelbach go back-to-back off right. Back-to-back home runs, 5-0 Mets in the third inning. The Mets wouldn't use a lot of long ball game in this entire series, but a lot of home runs in the first game for sure. The Braves claw back, though. Good offense over there. Darno's single and a wild pitch set up a Michael Harris RBI single. Acuna smacks a 2-run homer off Cookie right after to make it 5-3 in the 5th, but Cookie still turns in a 6-strong inning quality start, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 1 home run on 89 pitches. He's having a marvelous month and a half since July. Tyler Naquin, he's not done yet either. He goes oppo for his 2nd home run of the game on a low pitch that he just dunks to left field. I'm still not sure how that one got out. It was a huge insurance run, though. Mets are up. They get the first 2 outs in the 8th, but Otto surrenders a pair of hits for a run. It's 6-4, and Edwin Diaz is called upon to get 6 huge outs in the 8th and 9th, and he is up to the task. He uses 28 pitches to get 3 strikeouts and seals a massive win for the Mets in Game 1, setting the tone for this huge 5-game set. The Mets win Game 1, 6-4.
That was a great game. The big home runs, huge. Alonso doing his thing. Good job by Cookie. And the Mets got to a really good starter in Kyle Wright.
Yeah.
So that was a good statement. Anything you want to cover in game 1?
Kind of feels like really long ago now. Like, I was reading the recap and I was like, oh yeah, that
it was
happened.
Emotionally
I was like,
ages ago.
Naquin had 2 home runs. I totally forgot about that.
I forgot about that too until like going through it in my notes this morning.
It was literally Thursday, you know? Like, wasn't that long ago?
Yeah.
But Jerry's got game 2, and what happened in game 2? As always, Jerry?
Game 2, the blackout game. Taijuan Walker.
Oh,
this
no.
was a big one. Stepping up against Ian Anderson. Top of the first, Dansby with a 1-out double. Taijuan Walker then catches a spike, kind of jams his hip, and then that kind of summed up his outing. The Braves dropped a 4 spot on him in the first after Matt Olson follows that Dansby double with a double of his own. Riley gets hit by a pitch, and then Eddie Rosario hits a 3-run homer in the first. That kind of sums up his outing. Taijuan Walker 1+ because he gives up another 4 spot in the second without getting an out. Had a rough day, didn't use the hip as an excuse. In fact, he said it didn't matter. He was not good, couldn't throw his slider for a strike, couldn't spot his fastball. No excuses in his post-game interview. Great stuff. Gave up 8 in 1 inning. Taijuan Walker gives way to Trevor Williams, TW to TW, and Trevor Williams does a very admirable job going 4 strong. But the Mets dropped going down 8-0. And then in the bottom of the second, 2 quick outs. Tyler Naquin gets a single. Guillermo Nido. Nemo comes through with RBI singles. No. Sorry. 8-1. Bottom of the 5th, Lindor 1-out single. Alonso singles. 1st and 3rd, Vogelback K's. McNeil 2-out RBI single to make it 8-2. Mets ended up going down basically without a huge fight. Game 2 ends up losing 9-6. The big thing was the Mets left 10 men on base. They tried to claw back. They end up losing later in the game. They were within a few, but they just couldn't punch it through. Taijuan Walker had his roughest outing this season. Easy. Trevor Williams does a great job saving the bullpen in a 5-game set with a doubleheader. The next day, he goes 4 innings. Didn't allow any of his own earned runs. He tossed 17 consecutive scoreless innings in his last 5 games, which is huge. But the Braves got to the Mets, made them use their arms, a huge advantage in a 5-game set, but they lose 9-6 in game 2. Of course they lose game 2 because it's game 2.
It's just biblical at this point. It's part
biblical.
Of the season, you know?
Yeah, but they fought. The offense fought back, got within a couple of runs, and then just couldn't do it. 8 runs, an 8-0 lead after, basically 3 outs is a tough thing to overcome. They fought. They didn't give up, but it just couldn't come back.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good takeaways aside from Taijuan's blow-up. We don't know how injury-related it was, but I do like that you mentioned that he didn't make a lot of excuses. He owned up to the poor performance. The Mets tried to make it interesting. Darren Ruff hit a nice 2-run double the opposite way. The Buck used Escobar in a really good pinch-hitting spot. He came through with an RBI single. Trevor Williams bailing out the bullpen was huge because we had 3 games in 2 days following this, so we needed at least 4 innings from him. That's exactly what he gave us. And in an 8-0 game at one point, the Mets did make the Braves use a lot of their main guys. Rysel pitched in this game. Kenley pitched in this game, and that kind of set the tone for the phone.
Minter got the huge out. Well. He got Canna looking in the 6th, which was huge. That was a moment. I got lost in my notes because I can't write clearly, so I got lost. But he punched out Canna on a nasty fastball away, looking like 97. That was pretty much the game there in the 6th.
Yeah. Jeff McNeil got a solo home run in the 9th. Nice little quiet home run for him. And yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of the name of it. If the Mets kind of go quietly here, like 9-0 instead, it does change the outlook of the following 3 games because this doubleheader that came right after was pretty integral to who was going to win this series. And obviously things would turn the Mets' way. We'll get to that in a second. Jerry, your note sheet. What does it look like right now?
Right now
it's the scrawlings of a madman?
It's my fault because I just want you to see it. So it's 100% my fault because I took notes here at this section, and then I tried to start the game recap here, and it was like a page turner, like an idiot.
Come on.
Yeah, that was dumb. And I did the same thing following it. So instead of all my notes being on one page, I have to turn the page like an amateur. So we're going to fight through the game 2 of the doubleheader when I get there. We'll do it.
It looks heavily detailed, though. Like you didn't, short yourself out.
Yeah, I did it like I took a bunch of notes late, and then I tried to clear them up this morning. I didn't quite have all my coffee in, so we'll see how it goes.
But we'll jump to the doubleheader. So far, they split the first 2 games of the series, and David Peterson is back in the bigs.
The Mets came out, knockout punch, knocked him down in the first. The Braves stood up and said, not quite yet. Knocked us down in the second. So it's a good 1-2 right there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of what you want to set the stage for this big 2-game day. Peterson back in the bigs. He gets the call for this spot start. Mets needed him to come up big because the bullpen was kind of heavily used the night before, and he was very effective in the spot start. He had his usual issues with the walks. Only 3 walks and 3 hits. Had a hit by pitch in there as well, but goes 5 1/3, no earned runs, 5 strikeouts on 81 pitches. Kind of a quick yank from Buck, but I think Buck knew when to take him out. didn't want him facing the righty there after getting that first out in the 6th. Quit while you're ahead. I kind of like that strategy with Peterson. For his efforts, he gets optioned back to Syracuse right after the game. Strategic move for the Mets, but tough for Petey. They started the scoring early in this one. Marte and Lindor reached again, and Alonso and Vogie came through again. Back-to-back RBI singles for them. McNeil adds an RBI single of his own in the 3rd inning off debuting Odorizzi, who had a pretty nice start himself, though. Probably could have pitched a little bit better in some of the key spots of the game. Francisco Lindor smacked a 2-run double to center field, overturned from a home run. Looked like a home run to me, but we'll take the runs where we can get them. He had an absolutely hot series. The Braves did get 2 back on Acuna and Olsen's RBI singles off Lugo in the 7th. Ottavino came in and finished the inning and pitched into the 8th to bail him out. Otto had another good series as well. And the Mets, after giving up those runs, instantly rally to grab the runs back and then some, which is what they've been doing all season long when they're right. Canna gets hit by a pitch, Guillorme singles, and James McCann finally gets his first hit back from the IL, a huge one. He hooks it down the left field line for an RBI single to get the insurance going. The Mets hit 4 singles in a row and get a sac fly, a deep sac fly to left center field from Lindor to make it 8-2 Mets. It should have been a surefire win here, but Yohan Lopez cannot lock down the 9th inning. He gives up 3 runs on 4 consecutive hits, so the Mets have to use Edwin Diaz again for the final 2 outs of the game. He induces the ground ball for an RBI and then strikes out Eddie Rosario, blows him away for the 25th save of his season. The Mets win Game 1 of the doubleheader 8-5, but they have to use Edwin Diaz, so they'll go without him in the nightcap.
That was a really good game. David Peterson looked phenomenal. I can't give him enough praise because of how he's handled the adversity. Again, the bullpen wasn't great for him. I still think he's fine and could do well in the bullpen, but he's stepped up. That was a huge outing from him. I felt like the Edwin Diaz pitching in this game was a huge win for the Braves.
Yes.
They lost the game, but getting to Edwin Diaz, because he's done for the series, because he threw 2 innings the day before and then came in and got 2 outs. He's done for the day. You think he's probably done for the next day too. So to me, that was a huge win for them.
Yep. I think huge moment in the game for sure. Big out to get in the 5th inning for Peterson was Austin Riley. He gets the pop out on the 2-0 pitch. Riley could have crushed that ball in any other inning, but things were just kind of turning the Mets' way, and that solidified Peterson's good outing. Really encouraging stuff by him. It's unfortunate that there's still no spot for him really, but in this doubleheader spot, it was the perfect place to use Peterson. I'm glad he had a good start.
He knows his role, man. This is a team. He understands. He said it. Look, this is tough, but it is what it is. That brings us to Game 2 of the doubleheader, Game 4 in the series. That is Max Scherzer versus Max Fried, round 2 of the Battle of the Maxes. The first one, Scherzer went 7 and got the W. Max Fried was coming off a little bit of a hip injury, walked 5, kind of out of character, but the Mets won that one. We'll see who wins this one. Mad Max shuts him down in the top of the first. In the bottom of the first, Dansby has an error, and then a Pete bloop single. Darren Ruff K's to end the threat. They got on base but didn't come through in the first. Let's bring us to the third after Scherzer's dominating. Bottom of the third, Nito leadoff double. Nemo pops up a bunt for the first out. Marte walk. Lindor singles to load him up, and Pete Alonso with his huge power and strength, bloops one to knock in the first run of the game. 1-0 Mets. Ruff steps in with the bases juiced and grounds into a potential inning-ending 3-6-1. But the weird play where Dansby's second error with Max Fried coming over to cover, it gets away from him on the bounce. He tries to go get the ball and throw him out at home. Smacks his head really hard on the ground trying to make an athletic play. Doesn't work out. It went from 1 run, so now the Mets are up 3-0 in the bottom of the third. Fried stays in the game and actually has a pretty good game after that scary, looked like a possible concussion. Top of the 5th, though, d'Arnaud leads off with a double. Michael Harris, the second, singles. That's first and third. We get 1 out. Ahiri Adrianza grounds out to Guillorme at second base. d'Arnaud hesitates. Guillorme does the amazing thing that he always does and has great vision and guns him out at the plate with a perfect throw. And that saves the run there. He gets Acuna to end the threat. That brings us to the bottom of the 6th. Pete Alonso in his 3rd hit of the game, his 2nd hit. Ruff forces him in with his own little infield hit, so it was 1st and 2nd. They get to 2nd and 3rd on a throwing error from Austin Riley. Eduardo Escobar doesn't get it done, but Canna does. Gets Pete on a terrific slide at home. Pete comes in just under d'Arnaud. D'Arnaud kind of gets hurt and ends up coming out of the game, and that's good news for the Mets because he was killing the ball. But Pete slides in hard, clean play, kind of jammed up his hip, but that's a 4-0 lead. Let's move to the top of the 7th. The Mets bullpen, we talked about it being taxed. Edwin Diaz gets used in game 1, but Max Scherzer, in his biggest start of the year because it's the latest start, goes 7 strong, and we needed him to get through at least 7. He's at 92 pitches coming into the inning, but he says, it doesn't matter. I'm going to K the side. Absolutely dominant performance from him. In the bottom of the 7th, the Mets leaves runner on. Top of the 8th, Michael Givens gives up back-to-back doubles to make it 4-1. The bottom of the 8th, Escobar doubles. Naquin knocks him in and steals 2nd. Gets to 3rd after Guillorme lines one off the pitcher and an out. And Tomas Nido does a little squeeze job, bloops him in. That goes 5-1, 6-1. Top of the 9th, Trevor May gives up a meaningless home run to Will I Am. And it's 6-2 to Mets. Alonso does his thing, 3 for 4. Adds to his RBI total up to 93. Nido goes 1 for 3, a double. That big RBI squeeze. Darren Ruff, Canna, Naquin, all add RBIs, but Scherzer is the story of the game for me because he goes 7 strong, only 4 hits, no walks, 11 punch outs. He moves his record to 8-2, and he drops his ERA to under 2 at 1.98. Mets win both games of the doubleheader, taking 3 out of 4 with 1 big game to go the next day.
Yeah, I still think that game 1 of the doubleheader was pivotal to kind of set the tone for the day, but I never had a doubt in game 2, especially the way that Scherzer was pitching. It was kind of just a game of moments, Guillorme gunning down d'Arnaud at home, making that, split-second decision, thinking I can get this guy, and making a perfect strike to Nido, saving a run, really, kind of changed the outlook of the game there. Scherzer coming back out for the 7th. I wasn't really sure what the plan was. I knew Givens and May were part of that equation, but Scherzer getting that inning done at 108 pitches to end the night. Really good effort there by him. No walks once again for Scherzer. He's just an absolute control freak recently. And Tyler Naquin, who kind of quietly had a sneaky, very good series. Got the insurance run to make it 5-2. Stole second base, didn't know he was a threat to do that. Moved over and scored. And we got a couple catchers that know how to bunt really well. Tomas Nido.
There was a couple of moments. So the play at home from Guillorme, we talked about how fantastic that was. Nido made a great play at home. That was bang, bang. Could have gone either way. And then Pete Alonso scoring on that ground ball to Riley when Canna grounds it out to 3rd and he goes home. I mean, the replay, they challenged it. He was called out at home, and the replay looks like he touches it. I think I'm shocked that it got overturned.
I am too.
But it went the Mets' way. They took advantage of some errors from Dansby Swanson, who's having just a phenomenal year going on his walk year. But that's what you do, man. You take advantage of it. 6-2. That was huge.
Put the ball in play. Good things happen.
Put the ball in play.
And
you didn't have to lock down a save because you didn't need Edwin Diaz because he wouldn't have pitched anyway, which makes that first game and Yohan Lopez a little bit of a didn't have to do that.
For sure. It probably still would have been May, I think, but thankful to not have that situation at all. Mets take 3 of 4, and they head into the final game on Sunday. Jacob deGrom, after 13 months, makes his return to Citi Field, and they were loud for him. Before he threw, he got his warm-ups going, and they were playing Simple Man, kind of chills down everyone's spine. Very, very cool there. Clean first inning for deGrom. No surprise. Mets make Spencer Strider throw 29 pitches in the first inning. They do not score because he gets a couple of Ks on Alonso and Vogelbach. There was a weird review in the first with Nimmo. It was pretty much the exact same play that happened against Miami. Last time the Mets got the call, this time they don't. So deGrom sits for a while, but it does not matter because he's Jacob deGrom, and he strikes out everybody in sight. He had 4 Ks through 2 innings, 6 through 3 innings. The Mets finally put together a rally in the 4th inning off Spencer Strider, who was laboring pretty much this entire time. Nimmo and Lindor single with 1 out. They set up a 2-run double for Pete Alonso that hits the third base bag and bounces right over Austin Riley. Love to see that. Vogelbach draws a walk, and Canha doubles home 2 runs of his own. Vogelbach goes first to home on this double. I couldn't believe it. The replay is one of the best things. Easily. No throw. I couldn't even believe that. 4-0 Mets. McNeil doubles later on, advances on a flyout, and scores on a wild pitch. The Mets did a lot of that, just moving runners over and keeping the line moving. That was in the 5th inning. 5-0 Mets. McNeil has a sneaky 10-game hit streak, by the way. deGrom was the story of this game, though. Otherworldly in his return to New York, his second start back from injury. 5 2/3, 2 earned runs is not reflective at all about how dominant this Greek god was. 1 hit, 1 walk that came on his final 2 batters. 12 strikeouts. He was perfect through 5 2/3 before those final 2 batters. He threw 16 sliders to the Braves. They swung at 16 sliders. They missed on all of them. 16 whiffs there for Jacob deGrom.
They fouled 1 off.
They got 1 off in the 6th, I believe. Yeah,
yep,
that was,
it was
the
in
first
the
5 innings. Yeah.
It was Michael Harris the second fouled 1 off.
A lot of credit to the Braves. They fouled off 1 side. Good for them.
Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
Joely Rodriguez came into the game after for deGrom. Came under a lot of fire, kind of linked to the Mets not getting a lefty at the deadline. He silences his haters, which, kind of included me, so I'll own up to that. I didn't believe in Joely. He had a fantastic outing in this one. 2 1/3 innings. He gets all 7 outs there. 1 hit allowed. No walks. No earned runs. 4 strikeouts on 30 pitches. Just a lot of guys stepping up in huge ways to aid the Mets bullpen. This was his game for sure. He threw 70% changeups, which was the most in any of his career outings, so maybe a new game plan for Joely going forward. And then surprise, surprise for the Braves, Edwin Diaz is available today, actually. He comes in for the 9th inning, and wouldn't you know it, he strikes out the side, lowering his ERA to 1.39 on the season. Atlanta is 2 for 19 with 12 strikeouts and 0 walks against Edwin Diaz this season. He's now struck out the side in a save 7 times this year. The Braves didn't get an at-bat with runners in scoring position all game long. Multi-hit games for Nimmo, Lindor, Nido. Alonso's up to 95 RBIs. The Mets win this one 5-2. They take 4 or 5. They are in the absolute peak of their season as they are now 70-39 and tied with the Yankees for the best record in New York. How about that?
Good work. What a game. What a series. Let's go over game 5.
Yep.
Jacob deGrom was stellar. Interstellar, even.
What did Keith call him? Keith called him like an Olympian god, I think, right?
I'm not sure.
I think it was
all I know is that he is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Perfect through 5 2/3, then gives up a walk, and then Dansby gets him. But he was just spectacular.
The home run looked like a glitch in my TV. I could not believe somebody made that solid of contact off him.
That's what happened when you throw that hard. When you throw that hard, all you got to do is find the barrel.
Yep.
And the ball's going to go far. He's given up his home runs in his career. It's because he's nasty. But it just blown away. The at-bat, first of all, shout out to Mets fans.
Yeah.
For how locked into this whole series, and especially this game they were. Chills watching the game when Nido, right off the bat, Nito's fouling pitches off and ends up getting a single. They were into it, clapping on the foul balls, understanding that they're getting to the bullpen. Just great job. I really wish they had some things go their way this series. We talked about some of the plays, that ball that hit the bag. Those things go your way not all the time, and so it's nice for them to take advantage of it. That weird play in the first after Nimmo has that amazing at-bat, and then the umpire calls him out, and then it messes with it. The same thing in Miami. I still don't know how that's doing. In the postgame, this is the epitome of Buck Showalter.
Yeah.
In the postgame, they ask him about it, and he's like, hey, first of all, I don't want to get anybody in trouble and say what they said. He goes, but I'm baffled. And he says, I always use things as a teaching moment. And so he took it from that point of view. He goes, what do I teach there? He goes, it's inconsistent. He goes, because we're going to talk about it as a group. And what I'm going to say is, I have no idea. And that is unacceptable in a big league ball game, because when Buck Showalter knows more than everybody out there on that field, and he's like, you're wrong.
Yeah, I loved your tweet about that. Nobody knows the rules better than Buck.
Nobody does. And so for him to go through that, and for the Mets to not allow that to affect them, that was amazing. You know, they that's just what they do. They put their head down, they get to work, don't let anything affect them. Just fantastic. Overall series, unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets tied a franchise record in a 9-inning game for strikeouts with 19, right up there with David Cohn and Tom Seaver. Pretty good company, if you ask me.
Well, in Game 5, it was supposed to be this like amazing Strider. Rightfully so, came in. They're like, this guy's a gunslinger.
Yep.
This is going to be a nasty duel. And the Mets said, I don't think so. Their offense fought him, made him work. Whereas on the other side of that, the other end of the duel, they didn't even touch deGrom. Like, he was carving. It was unbelievable. So,
I mean, and I don't even necessarily think Strider pitched all that bad. I just think that he had a ton of at-bats go more than 6 pitches. And like, those things add up. It's death by 1,000 cuts when you're just constantly fouling off balls and putting balls on the ground and making everybody work more than they have to. I thought this line was pretty interesting. Only one Brave starter has pitched into the 7th inning this entire season against the Mets in 12 games. So every single time the game plan has been exactly the same. Work long counts, string together rallies. And even if those rallies, like the first inning rally where they made him throw 29 pitches, even if they yield no runs, you've already won the first inning because you've made Strider basically eliminate an inning of his outing.
Yeah, it's a big W like that when you fight. And when you're all of your pitches, all of your at-bats, there's no break, man.
Yep.
You can't take a breath and mentally that's exhausting for a starting pitcher to never be able to take a deep breath, because when he's out there, he's fucking laboring.
Yep.
It's a grind, and you can see it kind of wear on a young guy like that. He got ground down a little bit.
Yep. And I mean, I think the best part of the series, probably maybe one of the most unsung parts, was all the trade acquisitions showing up in a big way, especially from the offensive side. Naquin, Vogelbach, and Ruff, they combined to go 10 for 29, 3 home runs, 8 RBI, 7 runs, a stolen base, and 3 walks. And I just think that if you put Dom, JD, and Jankowski in all of those spots, the Mets maybe don't get the same offensive production. So you can say a lot about the Mets not going out and getting that 8th inning guy, and I still think they should have, and they probably could have. But at the same time, I feel really, really good about this platoon. It's a different lineup every night, but all these guys seem to be thriving from these new roles. Even Eduardo Escobar, who had been a starter before.
You retweeted it this morning. James Schiano on Twitter had it noted, because those acquisitions, huge, and the ability for Buck to put them in opportunities to be successful against the correct-handed pitcher, it's an advantage.
Yes.
And shout out to, we're about to do apples. We have a lot to dive through. It's going to be the hardest one of the year by far.
Yeah, probably.
But a shout out to Billy Epler, who's deserving of a nomination. He can't win because he's not a player, but those acquisitions, man, for the fans, and everybody was disappointed in the trade deadline because we didn't land a big name, and it felt like every other contender got great.
It's not looking like it's bad.
A deep team got deeper. So
exactly. And also, we got a pretty big name in Max Scherzer in the offseason. Let's not forget.
Pretty good.
All right, man. Like you said, maybe the hardest apple of the entire season. I'm still not entirely sure who I'm going to pick. I have to think. I mean, let's
run through
I gotta
the
read
nominees.
off these numbers. They're so. First of all, he won't win, but Tomas Nido had a very, very nice series at the plate.
Thank you. I'm glad you put it in, because I was going to highlight it as well. Tomas Nido, like 4 for 10 with a run scored, a big run scored, 2 doubles, an RBI, a walk, a sack bunt on the squeeze play. Played great, like just a fantastic series. And for him to put together those types of at-bats makes the lineup unbelievable.
Yeah. Brandon Nimmo went 6 for 20, but I think a bigger part of it was the amount of counts that he worked in this series. Kind of looked like old Nimmo again, working a lot of long at-bats. He drew 3 walks, which was really nice to see. 2 runs, 2 doubles, and RBI there as well. Lindor looked so awesome in this series. He really looked like the guy that you're paying out all that money for every year. 8 for 18. He scored 6 runs in 5 games, which is crazy. A double, 3 RBI, and 3 walks. He was all over the place, all over the ball. But I think it does come down to these final 4 guys that we have here. I really do. But it's tough. I'm going to let you go first because I feel like I always go first. And this is a tough one to go first on. So I'm throwing you into the fire.
All right. So Max Scherzer went 7 innings and a stellar outing with 11 punch outs in a doubleheader to seal the deal. I can't pick him. Tough. He's incredible, deserving. Jacob deGrom was absolutely perfect until the home run, but 5 2/3, 12 punchies. Can't pick him.
Damn. This is so hard.
I know. So for me, it's only these 2 guys, these 2 offensive, the 3-hole, the 4-hole. Pete Alonso went 8 for 19, scored 4 runs, had a double homer, 7 RBI, and 5 walks.
Jesus.
He had the game-winning RBI in all 4 wins, but I can't pick him.
Damn.
It has to be Francisco Lindor for me. He went 8 for 18. Yeah, Francisco Lindor. He went 8 for 18, scored 6 runs, had a big double, those 3 RBI, those 3 walks. He allowed Pete Alonso to be in those positions. Pete had a bunch of bloop hits that went his way. He crushed the homer. But to me, Lindor has been doing it. He set the table, unbelievable at bats, always competitive. He is in an absolute groove right now. I think for me, he was the MVP of this series because of how consistent he was.
I like that a lot.
Francisco Lindor is the apple of my eye.
Even with this great series, I don't even think Lindor was like the flashy pick, but I do love what you said. Like Alonso doesn't get that stat line if Lindor and, Marte and Nimmo as well aren't getting on every single time ahead of him and he's cleaning the table there. Alonso had such a good series. He had a really good I'm still a little torn. I think an obvious pick would have been deGrom if not for that little blemish on the Swanson home run. 12 strikeouts is insane. He looked absolutely stellar. Max gave us that 7th inning when we needed it so bad. But I think I'm going with Edwin Diaz. I think I'm going with Edwin Diaz.
I forgot to even mention Edwin Diaz.
I think I'm going with Edwin Diaz.
Good for you.
So I have a lot to say about Edwin. I have a lot to say. First of all, just the stat line. 3 2/3, no earned runs, no walks, 1 measly hit, 7 strikeouts, and 3 saves in a 5-game set. The story of this series changes dramatically if Edwin Diaz is even a shred of his 2021 self or his 2020 self. Instead, he is maybe the most impressive relief pitcher I've ever gotten to see live on the Mets. I thought it was really interesting that, one, he already has as many strikeouts as he did last year in about 25 less innings.
I thought it was 1 fewer.
1 less. I think it's 88 to 89, but still 18 less innings and only 1 less strikeout, and that's how dominant he's been. Something about Edwin Diaz this year has changed. We can look into the analytics of it. We can analyze his slider and the devastating movement and run of that. But I just think that mentally, Edwin Diaz has embraced New York now. New York has fully embraced Edwin Diaz. And I think it's also something with the trumpets, too. I think Edwin Diaz has the best entrance in baseball. I saw this from One Shining Mets. He's a listener of the pod. He posts some of my favorite stats on Twitter, so shout out to him. Before Edwin Diaz began using the trumpets intro, he had a 4.41 ERA. Since he started using the trumpets intro, 2.58. Nearly 2 runs lower since he got that anthemic intro.
When did he start using the trumpet?
I think it was 2021. I think it was
somewhere in
last
there.
year, the beginning of last year.
That's nice.
Listen, there were a lot of questions about the Mets bullpen. I still think that adding an 8th inning guy would have made this team a little bit more complete than they already are. But Diaz coming in for 6 outs in that first game was absolutely chills-inducing. Diaz shocking everybody by coming out on the Sunday game when I think Braves fans and Braves hitters maybe were expecting to not see him. I think the Mets might have the best 3 pitchers in baseball all on the same team in Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, and Edwin Diaz. And in a game where you have to face an Olympian god in Jacob deGrom, who goes 5 2/3 perfect, and then at the end you don't even get a break because you have to face Edwin Diaz too, and he's going to strike out the side again. That last game on Sunday I think was probably my favorite of the series, and Edwin Diaz, you just expect him to strike out the side at this point. It feels unfair to expect that of him, but that's exactly what I expect every single time. I expect nobody to make contact. I don't expect him to throw 3 balls in a count, let alone 4. He has been absolutely incredible, and he is the apple of my eye.
I mean, glorious. I think, gosh, Edwin Diaz was unbelievable. He's so electric at the end. He seals the deal. Like, before you even get there, you're like, man, we lost.
It's
if
over.
You're like, we got to face Diaz, it's over.
I forget what their record. They
It's
haven't
a travesty.
lost a game.
Shout out to Lindor for stealing this one from me, from Pete Alonso. I mean, had I known you were going to pick Diaz, I think I would have switched to Alonso, but I still love Lindor.
Go with your gut.
I love Lindor there. His at bats. It's amazing. What a series. I wish I did better recaps because the games deserved that.
That's okay.
But yeah, man, it was fire, dude. Fire.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still a little out of breath from it all.
Yeah,
it was a big weekend for Jomboy Media too, obviously, but just a huge, I think, memorable weekend for this Mets season overall. I had been highlighting this 5-game series for like 2 months. I had my eye on it forever, and I was just saying, like, if they can take 3 and gain a game and just continue to set statements, it would be huge. And instead, they went out and they took 4. Their lead is up to 6.5 now. They have that 4-gamer with the Braves next week, and then only that 3-gamer at the end, and that's it. So the Braves are really running out of chances to try and make a statement against the Mets. And it seems like every time we've just looked like the better team, a team with the game plan, a team that knows how to attack their pitchers and lengthen counts and exhaust their bullpen. And those are the strategies that are going to continue to win you games and, keep you alive against your opponents. And this is a good opponent. This is still a good Braves team. That we shouldn't discount them just because we're beating them. This is still a solid lineup that hits a ton of home runs. Acuna still torched us, like, you should be proud of this.
I'm not writing off the Braves. I still think the division is still up in the air because the Braves are still really good team. We got the best of them. They'll say the same thing. But it's still only, early August.
Yep.
Where we still have 5 weeks of baseball, 6 weeks of regular season baseball. A lot can happen. I've seen it on both ends.
Yep.
So you got to keep your head down. But this is the difference. Buck Showalter and the leadership in that clubhouse have this team not letting off the gas. Like they play Cincinnati here, which should be an easy win. Last year's team, the last couple of years' team might have a little hiccup here coming out of a big series win, but I expect them to beat their team. They don't play down to their opponent's level. They never play down. They play Mets brand baseball every single game. And to me, that's how you win a full season. That's how you win a division against a really good team like the Braves, is you can't have letdowns. And I don't expect them to start today against the Reds.
Yeah, this is not the 2021 Mets that felt comfortable with that lead. This is a team that really stepped on the neck of this series, and I fully expect them to continue doing so. Really exciting roster news as well. My guy, Tyler McGill, could be a reinforcement for the Mets very, very soon. He's scheduled to throw his first bullpen session next Saturday, looking at a late August, early September return from the IL as a reliever. So, I mean, if the Mets need more bullpen help, which, the bullpen had its hiccups in the series, but ultimately fared pretty well against the Braves, that could be a huge piece. And I'm just excited to see him back on the mound healthy.
I think that can be a game changer in the playoffs. If he's embraces that role and lets his fastball eat and he's feeling healthy, I think he could be an absolute weapon to have out of the bullpen. Like legitimately, like, we're going to go to him before Diaz kind of a weapon.
Yeah. I think that could be really, really exciting. We also, Joey Rodriguez, he said, I'm the lefty of this bullpen. This is my role. He really made that statement on Sunday. But old friend Joey Lucchesi, recovering from Tommy John surgery, he could also make a late season return as well. He's began throwing, so it's nice to see old and new Mets friends recovering from their injuries respectively. Also, Adonis Medina gets the call back up to the club with David Peterson's option. So the Mets have bullpen relief. They have the depth going. It's just figuring out which guys are going to go where and which guys are going to be part of the stretch run going forward.
But, Lucchesi coming back, good for him. That was kind of a punch in the gut to a team. That was a tough loss for them last year. They kind of needed him. He was pitching really well. But this is where we are. He could possibly make a run. I don't think he's a traditional lefty anyway, but Joely Rodriguez has pitched great. He said I'm the lefty, like you said, but very good.
So what do we got next, Jerry?
We have a big series coming in. We got the Cincinnati Reds stepping into Queens to battle your New York Mets, coming off a 4 out of 5 winning series against the Atlanta Braves. But game 1 is Chris Bassett, the only starter that didn't face those Braves, coming off a good win. He is 8-7 with a 3.61. He's going against a familiar foe, Justin Dunn, making his 2022 debut for the Reds after being traded from the Mariners. He's facing off against this team that made him a first-round draft pick in the New York Mets. Former first-round draft, Justin Dunn, coming to Queens to face his first team. He's definitely going to want to make a statement because you'll never forget your first love. Mm-hmm. Dunn will make his first, obviously, appearance for 2022. Hunter Green will not be pitching because he went on the 15-day IL. Mike Moustakas, 3 for 12 his career against Bassett with a homer. But the Bassett coming off his outing against the Nationals went 7 shut. Dunn pitched to a 3.75 ERA and 11 starts for the Mariners last season, but again, coming off of the IL. Game 2, Cookie Carrasco, after his stellar outing with 6 strong for the Mets, going up against Mike Minor, who's 1-8 with a 6 ERA. Mark Canha, his career versus Minor, 6 for 18 with 3 home runs. That's it. No big deal.
Not a big deal.
That is a monster. Vogelback, 2 for 7 with 2 home runs against Minor. I'm pretty sure those 2 guys are going to be in the lineup. Joey Votto against Cookie, though, 6 for 16 with a homer. Carrasco, since July began, 4-0. 36 innings pitched, 1.5 ERA, 33 Ks to 10 walks. Unbelievable. The other end of that, Mike Minor has surrendered 16 home runs this year in 56 innings, hence the 6 ERA.
Ouch.
Yikes. Game 3, the last game of this series. Taijuan Walker looking to bounce back after he caught a cleat but didn't use it as an excuse. He'll be fine. He's going up against Robert Duggar, who's the name I've never heard before. He's 0-1 with a 6.75 ERA. Steven Duggar's brother?
Maybe? I know. That's Duggar,
I don't know.
I think. I don't know.
Duggar has not pitched more than 4 innings with the Reds in a game. The Reds are 41-41 since beginning the season, 3 for 22. So they played 3-22 to start the year, your first 25 games. Hard to dig out of that one. Yeah, but they played 500 baseball. They've got some pieces. Joey Votto is still a Hall of Famer. Going to be very good. Taijuan kind of needs this. He's been great all season long. We don't need him to be anything other than himself, but I think he would like to bounce back and have a stellar outing. That is your 3-game set versus the Cincinnati Reds. What do you got?
What do I got? Justin Dunn pitching game 1 is fun. I like that. Glad he's back up in the bigs. Kind of feel like he probably should have been up all season. Kind of weird that it's only happening now. Don't know if that was an injury thing or a trade thing.
I think it was an injury thing.
Okay.
And then he just never was good. Like he was never healthy.
Yeah. All right, well, he's back up. He had a good 2021 with the Mariners. Still surprised by that trade a little bit. I mean, it kind of worked out for them. They got Winker and Suarez, but Justin Dunn was a solid piece.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Justin Dunn.
No. That makes sense. Yeah. No, that I'm a huge fan of now. Don't you worry. I'm a huge fan of that trade. It's weird how time changes things. It's very, very strange. Cookie Carrasco has been awesome since July. Chris Bassett. Yeah, it's interesting that we didn't see him in the last series. It feels like we saw a performance from pretty much every single Met on the roster, but Bassett was kind of the odd one out.
Bassett, that's the story of being a starter, man.
I know,
you
man.
Just take series off. Must be so nice.
Kind of fun. He was,
but he went 7 shutout against the Nationals.
Right.
He's looking to get in on the fun. I guarantee you, he saw all of his battery mates doing well, and he's like, don't leave me out.
He's probably itching right now. He probably wants to pitch so bad.
But I'm excited to see Justin Dunn. I know he's going to have a little bit of extra emotions because, the Mets drafted him and traded him away. He wants to make a statement to say, you messed up, even though you got, Edwin Diaz. I've got a long, good career ahead of me, and this is where it starts for you to say, I'm sorry I missed you.
Taken right after Justin Dunn in that year's draft, Gavin Lux for the Dodgers. Pretty interesting. Okay. 20th pick there. Yeah, so game 1, I think, is the one to keep your eye on. Hunter Green goes to the 15-day IL, so Justin Dunn is in the bigs. I had also never heard of Robert Duggar before, not Steven Duggar's brother, because they spell their last name differently, so there you go. But yeah, this should be a series win for the Mets, and it's exactly what you said.
Oh, AR and ER at the end, right? Okay, I was like, what?
IR? Oh,
yeah. I was thinking like 1G, Duger.
But yeah, it's exactly what you said before. The Mets need to keep the foot on the pedal. Don't ease up just because it's the Reds. They have been playing good ball since that horrendous start, 41-41. So yeah, just, keep your eye on the prize, keep winning series, and you got the Phillies coming up right after. That should be a fun weekend set.
Yeah, Noah Syndergaard, Zach Wheeler. The Phillies are playing good baseball, man. But don't take this one off. I have faith in Buck Showalter and the leaders in that clubhouse again to be like, all right, we just had a great series against our division rival. Let's keep our foot on the gas because they can lose and the Braves can win every single day. It's never over.
Exactly. All right, man. I think
where we are in the standings. What is it?
Oh yeah, I guess so. We're officially doing standings watch, are we?
Oh, okay,
you're there. Right. You're there.
I didn't know that, but I asked because I'm curious, so it makes sense to start doing that.
Let's see. The Mets, they have a 6.5 game lead. They're 70-39. The Braves sit at 64-46. The Phillies are 9.5 back at 60-48. They are in a playoff spot in the NL wild card. And the Mets are just 5 games behind of the only other team that's hotter than them since the beginning of July, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who just keep on sweeping everybody in sight. They swept the Giants. They swept the Padres, even though they got Juan Soto and all those pieces. They are the team to beat. And the Mets,
made some statements.
They have a real shot at this 1 seed, but the Dodgers are just really good.
Everybody in San Diego feeling real good about their trade deadline, and the Dodgers are like, I don't care who you have it.
Still the team to beat. It's crazy. That's so crazy over there.
They what was that? The 04-05 Red Sox. They're like, who's your daddy? You remember that at all?
Pedro?
Yeah, Pedro, who's your daddy? That's the Dodgers are like, hey, yeah, you guys did great, but we're still the big brother here.
Well, I think if I am recognizing the playoff format correctly, if the Padres win their series, they play the Dodgers in the NLDS. I mean, that is...
I have no idea.
I don't really know either. I could have just made that up. So.
Oh, it could be. And I also have no idea. So I'll tell you the truth that I'm not there.
Yeah, that's all right.
Could be fabricated. Could be a lie. Could be a truth. I don't know.
We said it, so it's true. It's actually
that's
true.
True. That's right. That's how media works.
All right, Jerry. You got anything else?
All right. That was exhausting.
That was exhausting.
That was a good one. But, I'm excited to watch some of the warehouse stuff you guys had going on. I wasn't able to attend, so
somebody spoiled my performance for you.
What?
Sad. Somebody spoiled my performance for you.
Well, not somebody. Many of folk were very pumped.
That's cool.
Yeah,
but you guys will have to wait and see.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait.
I think November.
But for Jolly, I'm Jerry, and we'll see you guys after the Red Series
on Thursday. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.
Enjoy it, Mets fans.
Gosh, deGrom.
6.5. What a lead.
It makes me so happy. I love watching that guy pitch. But let's go Mets.